They're absolutely lying. The indictment is a pack of lies. They got caught lying to the court here in Spain.
Today I sit down with early Bitcoin investor Roger Ver as he awaits extradition back to the United States for tax evasion charges. And if you do not know Roger's story, it's wild.
My name is Roger Ver. For more than 2 decades, I've been relentlessly targeted by the US government. Now I'm facing the possibility of spending the rest of my life in prison, up to 109 years. For crimes I did not commit.
We talk about his early days in crypto.
Basically, it was my money that seeded the entire first generation of Bitcoin businesses.
What altcoins he's most bullish on today.
I paid for XRP to be started. I was literally the second person ever involved in XRP.
Why he feels he's being wrongly targeted by the United States government.
The Biden administration hated cryptocurrency, right?
And watch today's whole video because this very well could be Roger's last public interview he's ever able to give.
There was a good chance that we weren't going to wind up having this interview today because literally any day now.
Click the like button right now to support me and let's start. Roger, obviously your name in the space. Anybody early days of Bitcoin knows the lore, but at least for this channel, we've had hundreds of thousands of new subscribers just in the last year. So for anybody that hasn't maybe heard of the Bitcoin early days, could you explain your background and how you found crypto?
Sure. It's been pretty entertaining actually for me to see people on Twitter or other places saying like, what did Roger ever do for Bitcoin? And so for those that weren't around, basically when nobody was paying any attention to Bitcoin at all, I bought my first Bitcoin at right around $1 each, and nobody cared about it at all. I put up the first billboard in the entire world advertising Bitcoin on the side of a busy expressway in Silicon Valley. I started paying for national radio ads on more than 100 radio stations across the US. Was basically the only one starting to give interviews when we could even get an interview about Bitcoin. I set up a website called bitcoinstore.com, which was basically the first major sort of retailer to start accepting Bitcoins for payments. And we sold more than 500,000 different consumer electronics products like computers and phones and computer parts basically for Bitcoin only. Got an interview on Fox News about that where they made fun of me for accepting Bitcoin but basically today everybody views Michael Saylor as the face of Bitcoin. Back then the face of Bitcoin was for the large part like myself and maybe Andreas Antonopoulos as well. And basically it was my money that seeded the entire first generation of Bitcoin businesses. So all these names that you would have heard of today. So things that a lot of people won't know this actually, blockchain.com, which back then was blockchain.info, and Coinbase were the same company initially. So the two founders started it together, and then they had a difference of vision that one thought people should have their own private keys, and then Coinbase thought that like they'll just hold the private keys for everybody. I only invested in blockchain.com because I wanted people to hold their private keys. In hindsight, I should have invested in both, but both businesses have done fantastically well. Another example that I'm a huge fan of today is a company called BitPay, which allows people to start accepting Bitcoin for payments or now cryptocurrencies in general. And so basically from 2011 up until maybe 2016 or 17, I was kind of if not the main face, one of the main faces of Bitcoin. And I was certainly the biggest investor in that whole ecosystem early on as well. And so like a lot of people today, they just know me as the Bitcoin Cash guy. But before Bitcoin Cash, I was the face of Bitcoin. And not only was I the face of Bitcoin, I was busy seeding the other projects to be started. So like a lot of people don't know this, I paid for XRP to be started. I was literally the second person ever involved in XRP. Jed McCaleb came up with the idea. I was the second person ever involved way before Brad Garlinghouse or Chris Larson or David Schwartz or any of these other people. Like it was literally, I was the second person there. I put up the seed money to start Zcoin, which then later rebranded into Firo at the moment. I was in the Series A for Zcash as well. And I've just been, trying to seed this entire ecosystem of peer-to-peer electronic cash for the entire world. And so like, I was never a BTC maximalist. I've never been a Bitcoin Cash maximalist. I'm just a maximalist for whatever provides people the most usefulness in their own lives is peer-to-peer cash for the world. Because studying economics growing up, you learn that the more money is allowed to flow around the world, it's transmitting the information as to what resources should be used to produce what goods that people want. And anytime governments block the flow of money, it's blocking that flow of information. So you don't know if cell phones should be made of steel or gold, or the table should be wood or silver, or like you don't know without these price signals. And the price signals going all over the world allow millions of people who've never met, never said a spoken word to each other, to collaborate with each other to produce, whether it's computers or microphones or shirts I'm wearing or the lights above me, like anything and everything without these people having to communicate with each other in words. And so it's so incredibly important for the flourishing of humankind that the money is allowed to flow unhindered around the world, so that these signals of what people want and what their desires are allowed to flow around the world, so everybody can cooperate together more efficiently. And so that's what made me so excited about Bitcoin early on, and that's why I'm still excited about cryptocurrency coming up on a decade and a half later. So I had no gray hair when I first started, but now I have a bit, but it's still super fun and exciting. And we can tie it all in. The only thing that's maybe in the same ballpark about being as exciting as cryptocurrency is AI. But even with AI, you need the flow of money to be able to go around, so that people know, oh, that we need to build more GPUs for this, data center, or we need more power plants to power the data centers, or we need this or that. And so the flow of money around the world is incredibly important for allocating the appropriate amount of resources into this different AI stuff that's being developed. And of course, when we have, AI non-human intelligences that we've created or whatever, Bank of America is not going to open a bank account for them. Visa is not going to give them an account. These things are going to be using cryptocurrencies, and they're going to be using it to trade with us humans. And so, it's really, really an exciting time to be alive. So that's the end of my rant for the moment. But I'm so excited. That's why I can't stop talking.
Well, I love that excitement. And is it fair to say then that what drove you in those early days and still drives you today is censorship-resistant money?
I think people just view censorship resistance is important, but the goal is to enable more economic growth. And by having more economic growth, we can do that. And in order to do that, we have censorship resistance as one of the tools. And the tool to achieve the censorship resistance is the decentralization. But the decentralization in and of itself is not a goal. It's just one more tool in the tool chest of creating more economic growth, because more economic growth makes everybody, rich and poor, all over the world, better off and have a higher standard of living. And I'm living in the world with everybody else. That's what I want to.
And final question about these early days, if you can, is there a specific moment or event that you look back on fondly? Maybe it was intense at the time, maybe it was the Fox News interview or whatever, that just is a reminder of how far we've come?
I remember when there was it was 2011 in June, and when it was one of the first newspapers ever to have reported on Bitcoin, and it was some German newspaper, and everybody in the Bitcoin community at that time was so excited, like, oh my gosh, a regular newspaper actually reported on this, because up to that point, nobody was paying any attention at all. And then I also kind of knew, oh, this is going to be big when in maybe late 2011 or early 2012 or something like that, I started selling the Cassasius physical Bitcoin. So these are like physical coins that had a hologram on them with a private key underneath. And this is when Bitcoins were like $6 each or something like that. And I started selling them and accepting Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal for shipping these physical coins in the mail. And the thanks that I got for that was that PayPal closed my account. And I had a PayPal account for, I don't know, 10 plus years or something at that point. I was one of the very first people to sign up for PayPal. And they said, you're not allowed to sell virtual currencies. And I emailed them back. I said, I'm not selling virtual currencies. I'm selling physical coins. I'm shipping in the mail with proof of delivery and everything else. If that's a problem, let me know. We can talk about it. And rather than replying to me, their response was just to close my account. So I haven't had a PayPal account since. It just motivated me even more strongly to push out cryptocurrency for people to be able to use as money all over the world. And that's what I'm still excited about today.
Let's get to the news today. I was shocked to learn that the United States government is suing you. Can you break down just a big picture what that is?
Yeah, so I won't go into the fine details, but the big picture is that they're absolutely lying. The indictment is a pack of lies. They got caught lying to the court here in Spain. The whole thing is just another case of political lawfare that they're using against someone that's speaking out in favor of cryptocurrencies and people having control over their own money. And the Biden administration hated cryptocurrency, right? They weren't just harassing me. They were harassing Coinbase. They were harassing Kraken. They're harassing blockchain. They're harassing every business in the entire space. And because I've been such an effective spokesperson for peer-to-peer cash for the world, we shouldn't be too terribly surprised that I was one of the people that they were harassing as well. So the short version there is that it's just an absolute pack of lies, and the entire thing should just be dismissed. And my lawyers have filed what's called a motion to dismiss, and it's right up there at freerogernow.org. And I invite anybody to read it. And if you don't want to read all of it, just pop it into one of these AI language models there, and it'll give you a summary as well. And it was kind of interesting because I wanted to then buy a summary too. I put them all in there, and I said, whose case is stronger, Rogers or the government's? And And I gave them all the, the government filings and all of my lawyers' filings, and they said, "Oh, Roger Vere's case is way stronger." And so, and I'm really disappointed. There's some people out there, some BTC maximalist types out there on Twitter, trying to claim that I'm guilty of this and that, and like, why on earth would you believe the government about anything, right? That indictment is just a pack, and the government lies to people over and over historically. Don't believe them in my indictment, and don't believe them in the past, right? So, yeah, really, really frustrating to see some supposedly freedom-loving Bitcoin people like just believing the government at face value. But I invite everybody to go and read the documents for themselves, and don't just listen to one side. Read both sides, and then decide for yourself.
And I know, rightly so, you're not going to comment specifically on the case, but from what I read, tax evasion is the charge. You obviously say that's a pack of lies. And the goal is a pardon from President Trump. Now, you're no longer an American citizen, correct? Since 2014?
So if I can back you up a little bit, so like the goal is just to have justice, right? So truth and justice for all is what America's supposed to be all about, and for all, I'm definitely included in all. And like, I never, ever, ever would have left America if I hadn't been the victim of lawfare the first time around when I ran for political office. The ATF terrorized me, and the IRS has been terrorizing me and my whole family ever since too, because they hate people that speak out and speak their mind and speak out in favor of people having more control over their own lives. They hate that. So, so to answer your question, I think that the goal is just to have justice in my case. I am 100% completely innocent of what they're accusing me of. I hired the best tax professionals, and I gave them all the information, and I followed all of their advice. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to having justice. And if I have to take it all the way to trial and win a trial, I'm ready to do that as well. But as the police like to say, you might beat the charges, but you won't beat the ride. If I go to trial and win a trial, it'll still take me years and millions of dollars worth of lawyers' fees. I'd prefer not to deal with any of that. And anybody that looks at it can see that it's just more political lawfare, like has been going around a lot in the last 4 years with the previous administration. And so, like, if anybody knows what it's like to be the victim of lawfare, President Trump certainly knows. But he's not the only one. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of this going around, and so I'm hoping the new administration will be able to put a stop to that. And we've already seen them. They freed I think over 1,500 January 6ers. Like, hooray, hooray, hooray! We need to end lawfare anytime we see it going on, and let anybody that hasn't committed a crime out of prison, and not run them through the political ringer or the legal ringer as I'm being run through right now. I've lost a whole year of my life here in Spain. I'm not Spanish. I've been trapped here. My Spanish is better now than a year ago, but it's talk about an incredibly huge disruption to my life. And I'm focusing all my time and energy on lawyer stuff instead of on crypto stuff. So me reading legal documents isn't going to make the world a better place. Me figuring out what new amazing tools we can do in the world of crypto, or spending money on investing in more crypto businesses, that's going to make the world a better place. So this is just another example of the government retarding the world's rate of economic growth and preventing all of us from being as wealthy as we otherwise would have been. And it's really frustrating.
How much does the DOJ want? Like, why not go for the settlement?
They have never... Not only have they never said how much I owe, they can't even calculate how much I owe. We literally filed Freedom of Information Act requests requesting them, tell us exactly what you think I owe. They can't do it because they don't know either, right? And the truth of the matter is, this was 2014. There was literally no guidance whatsoever from the IRS as to how to do this. And I hired the very best tax professionals in the entire world to work on this, and multiple layers, right? I had my base accountants, I had the other professional expatriation tax lawyers and tax accountants, and then I hired former federal prosecutors to look over everything, because I knew without any doubt I was going to be a political target where they were going to harass me. I told all my lawyers and attorneys in writing, we have to do everything perfectly, because I don't want to have any room for any trouble from the IRS, because I've been to prison before over lawfare and fake charges. I don't want to have it happen again. I want to do everything perfectly. And that's exactly what we did. And my lawyers stand by me. I stand by them. We did everything properly. Like, what other case where you can have someone where someone's indicted and all of his lawyers and tax preparers openly say, Roger didn't hide anything from us. We did everything properly. There's no crime here. So it's just really, really a frustrating situation. But again, this is from the previous administration. The Biden administration had this giant war on crypto. The new Trump administration is trying to welcome crypto and make America the home of crypto. There's nothing I would love more than to be able to go home to the country of my birth and be able to participate in all the amazing things that are happening there, and have this, politically based lawfare that's been waging against me for more than 2 decades at this point come to an end.
You'd love to be a citizen again?
I'm totally open to that. Like, everything's in the cards here. I certainly have some concerns as to who's going to be the next president, though, too, right? Like under the current administration, I'd feel safe, but who knows what's going to happen? And I think I'm allowed to say it at this point. I'm pretty darn sure there was cheating in the last election and it was rigged. What's to stop them from doing it again the next time? I hope they won't, and there won't. There will be fair elections, but very clearly they cheated in the last one. Just look at the vote totals. Like Biden got more votes than ever before, like in any history of any president. Like it just looks so suspicious. And so today I would feel much safer being a U.S. citizen. In 4 years from now, I don't know what would happen, but I'd love to be there and be part of the fight and try and save America.
So what's the timeline for you now? Could you be extradited any second?
Yeah, there was a good chance that we weren't going to wind up having this interview today, because literally any day now the Spanish government can toss me back in prison and put me on the way to the U.S. I'm waiting for their decision as to whether or not they're going to extradite me. The hearing was, let's see, 1 week ago tomorrow, and so we'll see how long it takes for them to rule. But the longer it takes, the more likely it is to be in my favor. So, but every morning I wake up and I think, oh, is this the day the Spanish police are going to come and grab me again? And I don't know, but I'll have some sort of a result here very soon, I'm sure.
And I'm looking. Can you see this right now?
I can see that, yeah.
Okay.
So we have some big names that have come out in support of me there as well. So
Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, Roger Stone. Right now you have 31,000 signatures. You were very close to 40,000. Once that happens, what changes?
To be honest, I think the counter on the website that updates to 50,000 being the target, but it's pretty impressive. We've gotten 31,000 signatures, and this website just went live maybe a month or 2 months ago at the most. And so that's a real big number of real people. And I have access where I can see all the different comments and stuff too that people leave. And like, it's really amazing how many different wonderful comments of support and there are in the background there too. And so like, Stella Assange, Robert Barnes, we have a number of, really big high profile supporters, because literally anybody that looks at the evidence here, they can see that this is just absolute nonsense. I'm 100% innocent. And this is just another example of lawfare going on that needs to come to an end. And I'm looking forward to getting back to work on cryptocurrency again, too, as soon as I don't have to focus on all this lawyer stuff.
Link down below. I'm going to sign it. I encourage the audience just to check it out and read it. Roger, anything we didn't cover about this lawsuit?
I guess I'll just reiterate one more time, is I'm 100% completely innocent. I invite everybody to go and read the motion to dismiss, the government's reply to the motion to dismiss, and then my lawyer's reply to that, and then decide for yourself, right? It's so clear. Anybody that reads it, I'm 100% innocent, and I'm looking forward to having all the charges dropped, or a pardon, or winning at trial if I need to do that too. But the whole thing is just nonsense. I'm looking forward to it coming to an end.
You say you want to get back to to building in crypto. What are you doing now? Is it early stage investing still?
Yeah, I like early stage investing. So like, there's still, maybe the last couple of years I was more interested in Bitcoin Cash. I still, like Bitcoin Cash. I still own Bitcoin. I own Ethereum. I own Solana. I own XRP. I own, a whole, I don't know, several dozen different cryptocurrencies at this point, because I've never been any single cryptocurrency maximalist. The thing that I'm kind of the most interested in at the moment is there's a thing called confidential layer, which is a decentralized permissionless bridge that will allow people to bridge Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Solana, like any other EVM chain, onto another chain called Zano. And so Zano is basically it's kind of like Monero, but anybody can issue tokens. So imagine taking your Bitcoin and then wrapping it into a token on Zano, which has the same privacy characteristics as Monero. So now your Bitcoin permissionlessly, with this decentralized permissionless bridge, now has fast, cheap, reliable, and super private transactions. And whenever you're done, you can bridge it back onto Bitcoin. And so I really feel like this is an amazing scaling and privacy solution for Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the other EVM chains out there as well. And so to me, that's a real interesting thing. And the gas token for the Zano network is called Zano. All of that gets burned on every transaction. So that'll make Zano deflationary if it really catches on. And so Cake Wallet announced that they're integrating Zano right into their wallet, and Bitcoin.com is as well. And then as soon as that confidential layer bridge goes live, I think it's really off to the races, because now every Ethereum and Bitcoin holder can now have Monero level privacy permissionlessly, and nobody can stop it or shut it down. And I think that if you want to make peer-to-peer cash for the world, that's a pretty powerful way to do it.
What's your outlook for crypto in 2025? And let me caveat that with the Bitcoin halving just happened last year. Usually the supply shock takes place 12, 18 months after, and we're seeing all this demand institutionally. So do you think it's going to be a bull year?
I don't see how it could not be with like I don't like the name like Bitcoin Jesus or something, but I feel like the Bitcoin God got elected to the White House here because he literally everybody was terrified of the U.S. up until the election here. Like I'm sure you had a whole bunch of friends that if Kamala had won, they were considering leaving the U.S. They were terrified of what it was going to be like in the U.S. And now suddenly we have an administration saying we're going to make crypto great again, and like they want all the crypto businesses and entrepreneurs come to America. I don't see how this couldn't be bullish for the entire ecosystem. So, but I've been bullish on crypto the entire time, so that hasn't changed.
If we're just looking at the digital gold narrative, not peer-to-peer cash, but just digital gold narrative for Bitcoin, other notable people, Cathie Wood, Michael Saylor has said at least $500,000 per BTC. What's your general outlook long-term for Bitcoin?
If you're just focusing on Bitcoin as being digital gold, you're missing the whole point, right? It's right there in the title of peer-to-peer electronic cash. And confidential layer plus Zano turns Bitcoin into digital gold and digital cash with privacy. So if anything, it's just even more bullish. So if their target of it as only digital gold is $500,000 of Bitcoin, if you make digital gold plus digital cash, it's certainly significantly more than that. So, but we just need to build all the software tools that make it easy for everyone to actually use it as cash. So like, and that was the big problem with when people were using gold as money, is it was kind of a pain to transfer the gold around. And that's kind of the pain with Bitcoin because a lot of these scaling solutions didn't come online. Well, now there's one that's right here knocking at the door that not only is it a scaling solution, but it's a scaling and privacy solution. And not just for Bitcoin, but for Bitcoin and all these EVM chains as well. So like and it's in a regulatorily friendly environment in the US now, like how can you not be more bullish than ever before on this?
So you're saying potentially if those things, when those things come into play, more than $500,000 per coin?
Totally possible. Totally possible. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to happen next week or next month or even this year, but $100,000 a coin, you can go back and look in 2011, I made a video saying that I thought Bitcoin was going to outperform gold, silver in the US stock market by more than 100 times over the next 2 years. And that was when Bitcoins were, I think, like $12 when I made that video or something like that. And people thought I was crazy and stupid and this and that. And I was telling people back then, oh, Bitcoin could easily hit $1,000, right? Or $10,000. And like even saying Bitcoin could hit $100 seemed crazy to people. And I even remember having some people argue with me, like, why would Bitcoin ever be more than $1 each? And so like today, 500,000, oh, maybe that sounds a bit crazy, but remember, it's a moving scale on both sides. There's a moving scale on the amount of people holding Bitcoin and using it as, a store value or digital gold or whatever, and the digital cash. But then also they're printing more dollars all the time too. So like the dollar side of the equation is a moving scale too. When I was a kid, you'd buy a can of soda was like 35 cents or 25 cents from the vending machine. Now, I don't know, it's $2 or something like that. It's not because cans of soda are more expensive to produce. It's because the dollar is worth less because they're printing all these dollars. So part of the future price of Bitcoin depends on how many additional dollars they continue to print as well. So it's a moving scale on both sides of the equation.
You were an early investor in Ripple. Do you still have a position? And what's your thoughts about the stable or RLUSD and being able to build smart contracts on it now?
Yeah, I was literally the seed investor for Ripple. So like I paid David Schwartz a salary to build out all the tech for it in the early days. So yes, I still have a position in Ripple. I'm a little bit disappointed that Brad Garlinghouse, hasn't gone to bat for me more with these fake charges. Like if people go back and look previously, Ripple was the victim of lawfare in regards to, I bought a bunch of XRP from them. I forget what year now, 2014 or 15 or something like that. And then I think it was the SEC harassed them for years, claiming that like all sorts of just absolute nonsense. And Chris Larson, apologized to me and said, Roger, like, I'm sorry, there was nothing that they could do. They absolutely 100% insisted that they wanted to smear my name and have my name on like whatever press release the government finally put out when there was a settlement. But let's fix that. They know firsthand that I'm the victim of lawfare. Like Brad, I saw him posting pictures with President Trump there too. Put in a good word for me, Brad. I helped start the company that you're the CEO of now. And you know that I've been the victim of lawfare last time around with your company involved. I'm the victim of lawfare again this time with the whole tax situation. Like it's 100% fake, made up nonsense. I know that I'm a target for government lawfare. And that's why I did absolutely everything I possibly could to do everything properly. And it's really frustrating to still be in this situation despite doing everything properly. And if they can do it to me, they can do it to anyone.
That's true. That's true. First, they came for Roger Ver, and I said nothing.
Yeah,
is the thing. There's been talk that XRP might Ripple might be positioning XRP to be in the Bitcoin or crypto digital asset strategic reserve for the United States. Would you support that, or what are your thoughts on that national strategic reserve?
I'm in favor of privatizing as many things as we possibly can in as many areas. So I want to see as many people around the world and the country there holding XRP privately and in private hands or in private businesses. Even competition leads to better results. I want to see XRP competing with Bitcoin, competing with Ethereum, competing with Bitcoin Cash, competing with everything out there. And competition leads to better results. Just like you have Taco Bell competes with McDonald's, with Burger King, with Carl's Jr., with whatever else out there. All of them are striving to do the best they can, and it leads to better products for us, the consumers. And the same is true when it comes to digital currencies. The more competition we have out there, the better the products that us, the consumers, get to use. So in terms of a digital strategic asset reserve, like, I don't know, not really my interest point. I want to see private businesses and private individuals focusing on building the things that we want, because for the most part, you don't get very good service from the DMV. I think private businesses provide better services for people.
With Ripple getting into the stablecoin game, and just, I believe you can build smart contracts on their ledger as well. Like, what's your outlook for Ripple or XRP next 5 years?
I think pretty bullish. Like, they're probably, because they're run as more as a company, they've probably been one of the most effective cryptocurrency companies at like lobbying and getting their foot in the door with it and doing big giant contracts with different businesses, and kudos to them for that. So how can you not be bullish on the entire ecosystem here? There's just so many smart, creative people working on this, and kudos to the Ripple executive team for what they've accomplished so far. But again, if I have to choose between the government sector and the private sector, I'm going to choose the private sector every single time.
You mentioned AI earlier in this interview. What are your thoughts? Is it AI? I see AI agents out there. BitTensor Tau is maybe the blue chip AI coin. What's your general take?
I don't know. I almost feel like I'm right at the verge of not being smart enough to even keep up with what's going on, because the AI is about to exceed human intelligence. And after that happens, who knows what's next? I guess the biggest feeling I have, I'm just frustrated in the sense that, like, I was, playing around with DeepSeek earlier today, which is this other, new model, amazing model that came out. I'm frustrated. I have to spend almost all of my time every day on lawyer phone calls and reading legal documents and dealing with extradition this and legal that and spending money and time on that. I'd rather spend my money and time on cryptocurrency and AI related stuff. And it's really frustrating that I've lost basically a year of my life to dealing with this stuff more recently. And even before that, I knew the audit was going on for multiple years before that as well. So,
are there projects, live AI projects now, that have intrigued you? Or are you just even not that deep in it yet? You're just looking at it from a bird's eye view.
I bought a copy of Ray Kurzweil's new book. I forget what it's called now. The Singularity is... I read all the previous ones. I bought whatever the name of the most recent one is, and I haven't had time to read it yet because I'm busy dealing with all this lawyer stuff, and I'm really sad that I haven't had time to read that as well. So the short answer is I don't know, because I want my life back instead of dealing with lawyer stuff. It's just, it's so frustrating and so stressful, and I don't know when the Spanish police are going to show up and toss me back in jail here again. My parents are too old to travel, so I haven't been able to see them for almost a decade because of this. Like, I'm just really, really, really sick of it. I'm hoping the new Trump administration will right the wrongs of the Biden administration here. And I hope they do it sooner rather than later, because it's really been a frustrating experience for me.
Roger, thank you so much for sharing your time. Links for everything down below. Final question, because I know you've always been big on utility of a project that's important to you, as well as censorship resistance. So if I was looking at altcoins today, what are top 3 or 5 most censorship resistant altcoins or protocols out there?
Yeah, I think the privacy space has really been overlooked. And so, like, my thought process previously is, like, initially we had Bitcoin with no privacy. And then we saw, like, Monero picked up a lot of the slack because Monero has privacy. And then we saw Ethereum come along, and everyone's making tokens, but none of the tokens had any privacy at all. And there's a couple of, like, token privacy attempts on Ethereum and some of these other EVM chains, but they're not that great. And so I was thinking to myself, well, we saw a shift from coins with no privacy to coins with privacy. Next, we'll see a shift from tokens with no privacy to tokens with privacy. And so I started looking out there for, like, what is the privacy token platform? and I came across a project called Zano, which is actually created by literally the same guy that created the Monero for the first time as well. And it's a project that's been around for 5 years, but kind of under the radar. And so that caught my attention because it's kind of like it has a lot of things going for it, but anyone can issue their own token. The token's just as private as the Monero transaction. Now, I bought my first Monero when it was less than $2 each as well. So I've been a giant Monero fan for a long time also. But I love Zano because anybody can issue their own token, and the token is totally private, and you can do whatever you want with it. But the thing that really made it catch fire for me was this other project called Confidential Layer that I mentioned before, that literally allows you to bridge your Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything else onto wrapped tokens on Zano. So now your Bitcoin transactions are super cheap, super fast, and super private. And it's this decentralized bridge. You don't have, there's no custodian sitting in the middle there to be attacked. To me, that's a really, really, really exciting development for all of cryptocurrency. And so and Confidential Layer has their own token called Clone. I'm not as sure if that one's a good investment, but Zano itself is used as the gas fee for all the wrapped Bitcoin and Ethereum that'll be on the Zano network. All of that gets burned. So that means Zano is likely to become deflationary if everybody's using it for their privacy on their Bitcoin or Ethereum transactions. And so like a deflationary, private, stakeable Monero type thing, I think that's going to be real popular and get a lot of traction, especially since it's now getting built into things like a Cake wallet and the Bitcoin.com wallet and things like that. It's really going to be a strong competitor to make Bitcoin peer-to-peer cash for the world. So I'm excited about that.
Zano, Confidential Layer, and then one more.
One more? I don't know. Solana's on fire right now. I think that's kind of showing everybody that even though there's definitely some arguments that it's super centralized and it's been down a bunch last year, but popped back up, but that's where all the action is. That's where everyone's building, and it seems to show that the vast majority of the public and the businesses out there, they care less about decentralization than just having a good user experience. And the user experience on Solana, and there's still some bugs, but it's been better than Ethereum had their own scaling issues, and layer twos turned out for Ethereum kind of turned into being competitors for Ethereum more than just layer twos for it. And so, yeah, I guess if I had to choose a third, probably Solana at this point.
Roger Ver, thanks so much for sharing your time. Links down below. Final thoughts about your case for the Altcoin Daily Army.
Yeah, if you speak out for me before there's no one left to speak out for you. So it's really, really important that government isn't allowed to wage lawfare against anybody that's out there, building tools to make the world a better place. And so please, I invite you to visit freerogernow.org and please sign the petition there and tweet at your congressman or your senator or the new president or whoever you want and say, hey, the lawfare against Roger Ver needs to stop. The lawfare against Roman Storm needs to stop. Against Ian Freeman needs to stop. Against the Samurai Wallet guys needs to stop. There's a whole bunch of people out there that have been the victims of lawfare from the Biden administration because they hate crypto. We need to speak out for all of them. So please do that.
And I heard you say on a recent space that you're the loudest voice, but if you're cleared or whatever, you'll continue fighting for them or being in their corner.
Of course. Yeah, I'll have more time to help these other people that are also the victims of lawfare. Of course, I'll have more time and money. I've spent a fortune on lawyers already as well.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.